What's up, Ronin? Welcome to this video where we are talking about Endwalker, going back on some thoughts and some questions that we had about the game as it was going on, and we had time to let it soak in and let the story soak in. So again, this is going to be spoilers in this video, so if you don't want to indulge in any spoiler talk, feel free to save this video to your watch laters. Please come back to it later and join the discussion in the comments, and if there's nobody down there when you get down there, just join the conversation from this video. With that said, let's go ahead and jump into these thoughts that I had. And I wrote them down in no particular order. There's just some of the questions that came to mind. I jotted them down. Some kind of are in like an order and some aren't. But as we ramble on, we jump into the first question that I had when I started playing the game was, why was Emmett narrating? I had that question like the entire time, and then it switched over to Hythlodaeus. And then we figured it out. And that kind of made me think about the future of narration, because as we've seen in the after we beat Hydaelyn, after that Hydaelyn trial, we see the ethereal sea motion come, and then that ethereal sea, they're like, welcome, or just Hythlodaeus is like, welcome. And so that was Venat joining the crew in the sea, but we didn't call Venat forward with, which is interesting, we didn't call Venat forward with Hades and Hythlodaeus. So I wonder why we didn't do that. Maybe we didn't realize she was in the sea, but I feel like we're gonna see or hear her narrating the next parts of this story, if this tale, if there's still gonna be any narration, or it could just be completely done all around. With that said, I do have a video coming out in the future here that might talk about a little bit more of what we might see coming next with this expansion. Endwalker still has a long way to go. These expansions last 2 years, so finishing these off really felt final, but at the same time it's not final. So we'll get into that a little bit later in another video. So one of the things that I thought was interesting is that we were only strong because of the calamities. We only have the strength that we have because they already had 7 calamities that rejoined us 7 times to be the hero that we are today. So without even knowing it, the Ascians were building us up to fight this final battle, and they didn't even realize it, which is interesting that they didn't want the rejoining to happen. Like, Hydaelyn didn't want the rejoining to happen, even though it was making us stronger. I guess it was a conflict there, as we figured out that the split was actually diluted our ether to be more dynamis reactant. So the more rejoinings we had, the more aether rich we'd have become. So this is pretty interesting there, how that kind of worked out, where their actions still end up saving the planet, even if it wasn't the intent that they wanted to. I thought that was pretty wild. The other question I have is, now that we've defeated, now that Hydaelyn's gone, there's still the Mother Crystal. I think there's some of it left. We haven't seen what it looks like after Xenos ate it all. Are we still the Warrior of Light? Is that still a title that we can hold? Are we still powered by the light, so to speak? We do have Hydaelyn's magic on us, which is just, we realized, was a traveler's ward to keep us safe from being like tempered and stuff like that. But we're not drawing forth like light power, are we? Unless it's our own power now, which is the power of Azim that we used to bring back our people. So it's kind of interesting. Do we still have this power here? Like, the power we used to bring back Hades and Elidibus was the power that she used, that she gave us, but the power to bring back our friends was our power. So from there, where did we go next? Like I said, we'll talk about that in the next one, but I do believe that the next expansion, they mentioned the new world, and I feel like that's going to be in the next expansion. We'll go a little bit more in depth into why I think that, but there is, you can see the continent on the planet when you're on the moon. There should be a shot up here that I grabbed from one of the Final Fantasy wiki pages, but I think it was the console wiki pages. But yeah, so that's kind of cool that we've seen the new world in clothes, new world shirt, top, or whatever it was called, and now we're actually seeing that it's an actual place. We know that the blue mages come from there. So we'll go into more detail on that a little bit later. Is Xenos actually dead? Now, they focus on Xenos' breathing, and he stopped breathing. However, we did kill Xenos before, and he still has the power to jump out of bodies. Soul can still float about. He's still kind of in that area, even though it's on the edge of the universe. The thing with creation magic is once something is created, it still exists because it has been created. It's not like a spell that's being channeled. It's actually just a spell that's cast and it's happening. But like if I created this pot of flowers here, that pot of flowers will always be there no matter where I went and what I did because I made this. Or like a drawing, pretty much. When I make a drawing, the drawing will always be there because I made that drawing. Or this video, for example. So it's that type of magic. That's why we see Lolifit's there. That's why Emerald's still there. Why the moon is still in existence, because it was created to be something that's solid and physical in form. Sundered versus unsundered was an interesting question because people were wondering what makes something sundered. Sundered, as we know, happened because of Heidelin's so-called fight with Zodiac. You know, she sundering and split it into 13 parts, which is kind of interesting. When you look at Zodiac, he was not complete. Zodiac, when we fought them, he had pieces of his arm missing, had like leg missing. So he wasn't in complete form. And if you count the amounts that were missing, it actually equaled how many calamities were left, which I thought was kind of a cool touch there. But Xenos, if we meet Xenos again, like if he isn't dead and he calls us his friend, will we mistake him for Hythlodaeus, or will it actually be Xenos? Like, does Xenos, did he let his soul just go to where he just died, or did he still hold on to that life at the end? Even though the body died, is the soul still alive? So that's a really interesting thought there. And I'll also return to the sea because everything returns back to the sea. So will he be chilling there with his granddad and his pops? Interesting thought there. So revisiting other shards, they talked about that in the talk with Hades, with MSL. He mentioned that we still have other shards to travel and check out their unique, interesting perspectives. And one of the things that's kind of interesting is that Unukohai is on the first, and he's actually trying to figure out how to restore the 13th, which is a void world. So that might be something that we were working towards doing. I thought it might be something that we could do in this expansion. It's like an idea I had that we might end up trying to do, because they talk about it a little bit also with they're still talking about going back to the first and trying to figure out a way to travel back to the first. So they made it seem like we'll be able to find ways to travel to all these different regions. Probably with the power of Azem, if we get any stronger, or if we can get stronger, that might be a way we do that. So we'll have to see how that goes and what's going to happen with Elpis, if there's any more storyline to be built around in that area. We'll find out there. Kind of questions I was wondering was, where is Godbird and where is Gosetu? Those are people we didn't see come back when everybody was coming to help us out. Now, I haven't done all of the role quests, so they could make an appearance in another role quest, or the fifth one, the sixth one that comes out of nowhere. But now everybody came to help us, and we didn't see the Mandeville saucer anywhere. Like, they didn't come help us out. What's going on? I thought that was kind of odd. Where were they at? Now we know Gosetu was still doing his pilgrimage, and I think we might see him in this expansion still, because if he's just sticking around his area and we're going up into the mountains, Blood Ring, we might find him up in there, and we might actually do some quests with Gosetu. So that's something I'll be looking forward to. We don't know. It's an interesting thought. The importance of the Scions fighting Heidelin with you was a thought I had, because if you look at all throughout the game, the Scions started, like, we just started as regular adventurers, and the Scions just started as like a group, and then we were stronger than them, so we had to take care of everything. Eventually they kind of got tired because our bonds connected more, and they wanted to be able to do more, and that's why I kind of see them coming into more with gameplay mechanics. Like when we get to Shadowbringers, now we can actually do dungeons with them instead of doing dungeons with ourselves. They're now strong enough to go into the dungeons with us, and as they've grown in strength, as it goes along, they were actually able to fight Heidelin with us in a trial. Now, I would love to be able to see them do more trials with us in the future, because now they're on that level to where they can do trust trials, and that they are that strong now. So we'll have to see how that goes in the future, because now that they're strong enough, they're almost on our level in strength. Not strong enough to fight, the End Singer, but strong enough to fight with us in these trials. So that's kind of cool. There are so many wasted zones so far in this game. Like one of the zones I felt was kind of wasted was the moon. Now there's a lot going on the moon, like it was a big lore point, but it's literally like a whole area still that might have some fates on it. There's nothing really special happening there. There's some enemies that you can fight. So I feel like definitely one of the beast tribes is going to be the Lilliputians because they're not doing anything with that area. And I feel like there's another area that we're going to see on in the Ultima Thule where that little bar is. We're going to probably get some crafting turn-ins there. I think deliveries are going to be made there is what I'm thinking. So with that said, I think Garlemald, if we look at how all the universes, all the planets and all the civilizations were crumbling and falling apart in that last dungeon, the Dead Ends, we can see that Garlemald was really heading in that same direction with Black Rose. So it kind of makes Xenos kind of like an unsung hero by taking out Black Rose altogether. Now, we know Gaius and Gaius and Estinian were working on taking out Black Rose already on their own. But Xenos also shut that junk down. Even if it was just to fight you, he still shut it down. And that still kind of makes him kind of a hero. Even if it was unintended, he heroically saved the world from going down that same civilization path that everybody else is going through, where I think there was the fish people in Dead Ends that actually had the same story where they were just fighting the strong. Even the Omicrons were like that too, just fighting the strong. So they didn't get taken over, they became strong and just kept moving forward that way. So that's the same way that's what's happening with Garlemald. So they didn't get taken over anymore because it happened to them. They just kept taking over other lands and growing stronger that way. So we were headed in that same way of destruction that all the other civilizations were headed to with Black Rose. So I don't think that Zodiac could have ever been reformed. They messed up the 13th, made it into a void, and they said it was useless, which means they could not rejoin the 13th. But he would have never been restored to his former glory. The tempering was just that strong on these Ascians that they didn't realize that. They just had a goal that they were moving forward with. So I thought that was also kind of interesting that their whole plan was just futile from the beginning, because since they messed up the 13th. Once they messed that up, it was done. Which also makes me interested in Unukohai again, because why did Elidibus save Unukohai? My theory on that is that Unukohai is actually a piece of Azim soul. I'd say it was a warrior of light as well. And he kind of has the same facial features or same physical features as Heidelin and as the warrior of light, or as Azim that we know of. As we know Azim from the pictures, we saw Elidibus turn into the warrior of light. So they have that same hairstyle, same eyes, stuff like that. I think that's what was going on there, is that Azim, or that Elidibus saw Unukohai and saw a bit of the warrior of light that he looked up to in him and saved him because of that, which is also pretty good for us. Which means that everything that Ascians thought was pretty much a lie, right? Like, we know that because they had the memory erased, but because of the tempering, they thought that Heidelin was doing all this stuff for different reasons than what she actually was. And even if she told them the reason, they still would have thought their own thought that this was the only way because of the whole tempering situation. So looking at some of the other streamers stream, the thought of things not being truly alive was talked about in Shadowbringers. Like when Emmett Selk says in his one of his lore bombs that you are not truly alive, therefore I don't feel bad for, taking you out. Like, to me, you're not truly alive, so it doesn't matter if I kill you or not, because you're not alive. That same thought process was happening on Elpis when they were taking out the creations. The one that Hermes was like, how do you know if things aren't alive? So that question of what's real, how do you know what's alive, how do you determine what's alive and what isn't, was the seed was planted there in Shadowbringers. And there's a lot of seeds that were planted in Shadowbringers that built us up into Endwalker, and even before Shadowbringers, which I thought was pretty cool that they planted those seeds ahead of time, so it doesn't seem like it came out of nowhere when all this stuff is going on. Like if we're going to a different shard or planet, or the power of the Crystal Tower, or Alligans, or any of that stuff, all that stuff makes sense because they planted these seeds in different areas. Even if it was like in a passing cutscene or talk or quest, it was still put in there. Even in side quests, raids, 24-man raids, all this information was in the game. So they used all of that to bring back to Endwalker. And I can't wait to check out the other road quests, because there are some people we saw, the Company of Heroes and the Physical DPS road quests. So I'm kind of interested to see who all makes that appearance, who all makes a return, and the other road quests. It'll be pretty cool. But those are the questions I have right now that kind of came to mind. If there's any other questions that you guys have, or any questions you guys had when you thought back on Endwalker, let me know, and we can talk about it more in the comments or in another video. It'd be kind of cool. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.